how do we manage these expectations? If we're on the enterprise IT side or on the enterprise business side, how do we manage these expectations to get the stuff done that really needs to get done? Because Eileen, you raised a great point. This stuff is a hell of a lot more complex than anybody sees, whether it's the technology or the way the business is. Jason, what do you think?
You know, I'm kind of prompted to think about the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So if you remember, the answer to life, the universe, and everything was 42. And everyone said, how could that possibly be the answer? And the comeback was, perhaps you didn't really understand the question. So when you think about like analytics and a lot of these tools, sure, it's very easy to use them and create a bar chart or run a report or do this or click on that. But are you actually getting any value out of that? Are you really using it the right way? Is that chart telling you something that's actually useful or correct? And that's where I think a lot of the next level complexity is how can you make someone who's not a data scientist realize what kind of questions they should be asking, what sort of things do they need to control for, and how to get real information out of the data as opposed to just graphical representations of data, which is still data and meaningless.
Eileen, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say I would agree with that entirely, and the focus needs to be among narrow domains where you have questions to answer, you need to get increasingly prescriptive in the answers you're giving with the analytics so that people don't have to be qualified to interpret statistics.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one of the things that I've been reading about is business analytics for everyone, right? It's supposed to be natural language. You just ask a question and it'll come up and it'll give you the thing. Now, in my company, we recently, I won't say the name, but there was a system, they said, oh, this is really going to be easy. I went through 5 training sessions. I don't think it's easy. Now, admittedly, I am a word person and not an analyst, but this was not easy. Now, hopefully, they are going to come up. They're talking about now with a lot of language, natural language kind of things, that people will be able to do it, in which case, maybe they won't need as many analysts to do this kind of stuff if business people can actually do it. But I don't think we're there yet, and I think it's going to take a while before we are there.
There's an increasing expectation that the vendor's going to do the work. Now, the vendor has always done a lot of the work, whether it's the direct vendor or the SI or the VAR or some mixture of these. Is that expectation real? Can we expect the vendors, especially cloud-based, to do more and more of the work, whether it's analytics, whether it's data management, whether it's improving the user experience, providing systems, making the stuff work together? Ron, can we expect vendors to take on more and more of these types of things?
I think it depends on what the work is. I think that there are certain core business attributes that you simply can't outsource, and I think we've heard that throughout the day, that as much as you may want to or think that's the right path, there are just certain things that the business needs to do itself and contribute. So I think it depends on that. I think certain technical aspects or common technologies maybe can be put on the vendor's shoulders, and certainly the maintenance of the systems and those things. But really, the business has to have the business expertise to infuse those systems with the right data at the right time and providing that integral part of it.
Makes sense. Alex?
I think more of the work does fall on the vendors now, though, and the big reason for that is that the further behind user organizations are, the more difficult it will be for them to effectively deploy these solutions without help. It becomes a big lift for every year or version behind the cloud you're going to. So if you're one version behind on an ERP system and you're trying to move to a cloud-based ERP system, it just gets harder and harder. If you get 2 years behind, if it gets 3 years behind, eventually you need the vendors there to help you out, because chances are you're not 3 years behind on your ERP system because you have everyone who knows everything about how the system works to begin with.
Well, I think that vendors have to take more responsibility for the user experience. And I think Microsoft is a good example. When they went back, when they started using the tiles in Windows 8, and everybody hated it. So now in Windows 10, they're going back to the thing that people were used to and they liked. And I think vendors need to take more responsibility for the products. If we're going to have business analytics for everyone, then vendors initially have to give something that users have tested, not IT people, but users, so that it works in the first place. Because no matter how much the the IT department is going to do, if the system in the beginning is just incomprehensible to average people, they have no choice. I also think, though, the channel is going to play a bigger role in this too, because they'll go in and customize and help, somewhat with the end user. So
They'll continue that specialized relationship role, whether it is the technology, the location, or the vertical.
right, and so I think they're going to have to play a bigger role in the coming years.
Okay.